So my parents had always talked about Rochester. When they talked about high school, college, or medical school, the memories they always had, that they always spoke the most about was always Rochester Medical School. And so we heard nothing but the greatest things about Rochester throughout childhood. And so it set the bar very, very high. And I remember coming to visit here for an undergrad tour as an undergraduate, and the bar had just been so high that you pictured Rochester as this mecca on a hill. And I didn't end up coming here for undergrad, but when I did come here for med school, actually, even though that bar had been set very high, I think Rochester exceeded all the expectations, all the things I had heard about it. So there were two things they talked a lot about. The first was the education they got, and they were really big advocates of the biopsychosocial model. They remembered a lot of their professors and the teaching they got here, which they thought was excellent. And then the second thing I think was their personal memories. They having met in med school and ended up getting married at the end of it, had a lot of good friends from med school. There's definitely a lot of good memories from that perspective also. So both teaching and personal memories they remembered very fondly of Rochester. Yeah, the biggest overlap I think for me was the teaching aspect of it. It felt like the professors really wanted to get to know you as an individual, and having a class of only 100 people, you really get to know all your classmates very well. I actually liked high school, so I thought it was a lot like high school. It was a small group of people that you knew very well. You did everything with. You played sports with. You went out and hung out with. You did all your rotations together. You get to know your classmates just really, really well. And the instruction was excellent. So they actually remembered, one of my research mentors was Dr. Jim Aquavella, and he didn't actually teach at the university, but was a clinician in the community when they went to med school. So they remembered him, and then he came over to the university and ended up being my research mentor. But my dad actually remembered him as a clinician in the community. I think there's always been the sense that my path is my own path. So while they're proud that I've gone here and have many fond memories of their own, they realize that my experience here was going to be my own experience here. And it's been as good, but it's been a different path than what they had here. That I think it met and even exceeded my expectations, both on an intellectual and academic level and on a personal level with many of my classmates. It's just been such a great place to have spent 4 years, and I'm really excited to spend another 4 here for residency.
So I'm the third generation to have attended the University of Rochester School of Medicine. My grandfather was the first Brodell to attend the school, graduated in 1954 with a class composed of mostly men. And my parents both attended medical school here. My father graduated in 1979, and my mom, a Brodell through marriage, graduated in 1981. And then I'll be the third generation to graduate in 2010. My baby yearbook picture in our yearbook this year is me in a Rochester t-shirt. And it's really been a part of our family's life as far as I can remember. Of course, it means a lot more to me now when I hear of it, since I've been here for 4 years. But I definitely came to Rochester when I was looking for colleges, and came back, of course, when I was looking for medical schools. And Rochester seems to come up in most every conversation we have nowadays, since there's 3 generations of our family that have lived here and gone to school here. So our family is originally from Warren, Ohio. My grandfather was in private practice in internal medicine in Warren, Ohio. Both my parents currently are in private practice in Warren, Ohio as well, and actually across the street from where my grandfather used to practice. So our family stayed pretty tightly knit through this whole process of medicine, and I actually grew up in our home attached to my parents' office. So directly grew up in medicine my entire life as well. I had never been to Rochester for any span of time before coming to medical school here, but I had heard a lot of good things about it, and of course you always want to look at other options when your parents are encouraging you to go in one direction. But there was never any pressure for me to become a physician or to go to Rochester for medical school. it's more something that happened by happenstance. I happened to love the place when I came to visit and interview for medical school, and it was my first choice, and I applied early decision and got in, and then really had to withdraw all of my other applications. My father actually lived in Goler House, which still stands, and I have friends that currently live in Goler. And it just makes it fun conversation when I'm with my friends and my parents are there. Everyone sort of knows what each other is talking about, because most of us have been in the same situation, even if it was 20 or 25 years ago. There's this rubber band effect in Rochester where I think a lot of students come here for medical school or undergraduate, and they think that they'll leave, but there's something that keeps pulling them back to the area, once they graduate. And interestingly enough, I've worked with some of my parents' classmates. I've worked with Dr. Everts, who was the orthopedic surgeon that trained my uncle. So even directly, I've worked with some of their closest friends and colleagues, which is interesting. And then, of course, socially, just being in Rochester, I'll see friends that I've met through them at the grocery store or other places in Rochester. And so it really, my memories of Rochester and sort of what Rochester is to me is really just about the people that I've met and worked with in the hospital as well as in the community. And a lot of them have ties to my parents or grandparents. The physical building is different, but I think everyone in my family would speak to say that the place itself, the people in it, and the environment is much the same. When my parents or grandparents come back for reunions, and I've gone to some of the events with them when they're back for reunions, I think that they would say, even though the physical structure has changed, that really what Rochester is as a place and as a medical facility is much the same. People that I don't know too well who graduated with my parents or my grandparents in medical school have sort of adopted me as their own child or grandchild. Dr. Klug and his wife, Dr. Aslin, both Dr. Aslins, who graduated with my parents, have been great to me in Rochester. And Dr. Holbert, I could name the list on and on as far as people that they know who stayed in Rochester and who have gone out of their way to make me feel more than comfortable here, whether I needed it or not. And that's been really comforting.